Fable in 2026. Yeah, that's what I should be playing. But nope, it's now delayed until 2027. Now, this is a game I've been looking forward to for quite a while now. And seeing the latest trailer for this game and seeing a certain someone at the end of this trailer got me thinking, you know what? I think it's finally time I went back to the original Fable game and played it again because, I'm gonna be honest, I can't really remember anything about the story. Don't get me wrong, I have completed all the Fable games. I've completed Fable 1 to 3, but when I played Fable 1, it was very much a one and done game. I'd done the story and then I just finished with it. I didn't even do the lost chapters of this game either. I played this on Xbox 360 originally, done the story, and I was done with it. I remember bits and pieces about this game. I remember being amazed by the world, making questionable decisions, and a lot of time messing around. But the story itself, yeah, I've forgotten quite a lot of it. So while we're now having to wait another year for the new Fable game, I figured there's no better time to go back now and revisit the game that started it all off all those years later, and to see if it still holds up. Bear in mind, yes, I'm playing the Anniversary Edition, which is basically the remastered version of the original game, because the original game looks like this, and the Anniversary Edition looks like this. So, yeah, I went with the one that looks slightly better. Now, the original game was developed by Lionhead Studios, whereas the new Fable game is being developed by Playground Games, the guys who did the Forza games. And honestly, you can immediately tell that they're developed by different creators because they do look somewhat different. I know obviously one's so many years down the line, but their art styles, they look like completely different. One's more of your fairy tale-esque, where the newer game's going for more a realistic approach. Don't get me wrong, the new Fable game looks absolutely stunning, but there's something about the original art style that I've always loved. Everything in Albion feels like it's just been pulled straight out of a fairy tale book. And speaking of fairy tale, I kind of made my own fairy tale in this playthrough because my story in this game ended up being a little bit different than what I'm used to with playing RPGs. Whenever I play these sort of games, I make the moral choice and be like the best hero I can. Like every route where it says you can be good or evil, I always go to the good route because something in my heart just says I can't do this to someone. You know, I'll be helping villagers, helping strangers, being the hero. It's just the natural way which I play these games. But this time I decided to do something I don't usually do on a Fable game, and that is go full-blown evil. And when I say evil, I mean evil. Not the accidental, I just picked the odd dialogue kind of evil. I'm talking about making bad decisions because the game can let me do it. Like I said, I've played Fable 1 to 3 and I've never committed to ever doing an evil playthrough. So with this being my first time revisiting this game after completing it its first time all those years ago, I thought now is the perfect time to see what happens when Albion's hero turns into an absolute menace. One of the things I've always loved about the Fable games is how they let you experience your character's entire life journey. You don't just start off as some destined hero to save the world. You start off as a child. Just a regular child running around your hometown of Oakvale before everything goes wrong. Although, if I'm being honest, my character looked less like a future hero and more like he just wandered out of the Shire. Seriously, give this guy some hairy feet and he'd be halfway on his way to Mordor. Maybe that's why I went down the evil route. Years of Hobbit discrimination just finally pushed him over the edge. Anyway, despite looking like Albion's smallest residence, my future as one of the greatest villains was obvious from the very beginning. Because where most players are probably going around helping people when you first off in this game, I was going around smacking up guards and just beating up my fellow child mates to see how much evil I could do at the start of this game. After my brief experience with Albion's most troubled child, things take a pretty dark turn because a load of bandits just decide to turn up in Oakvale and, well, yeah, they just slaughter everyone. And before long, you're taken to the Heroes Guild. And this is where the game really starts to open up. Under the watchful eyes of Maze and your guild master, you get to learn more of the mechanics of this game, in particular, the combat. Because despite this game being over 20 years old now, Fable is still surprisingly fun to play. The combat on this game is fairly simple compared to other RPGs, don't get me wrong, but that's probably a bit of the charm of this game. You've got melee weapons for going up close, you've got bows for range, and then you've got a number and a variety of different spells you can use. I didn't even realize you could do most of these spells on my last playthrough. I'm pretty sure on my last playthrough I used like one spell and just combat, and in this I experimented a bit more. But naturally, because I was going for an evil playthrough, I just decided to go for the most evil looking spells that I could. And I'm not gonna lie, I spammed whatever this move was near enough every time I came up against a cluster of enemies. It was like the AoE damage of magic. I really enjoyed this one. I probably should have used the lightning, to be more like Darth Sidious or, like a Dark Force user, but, instead I just decided to spam the heck out of this. But it's fairly easy to switch between these combat styles as well. 1 minute you just take your sword off your back by pressing a certain button. You take your bow off your back by pressing a certain button, and then you've got like different options of which abilities you want to assign to your controller in my case, because I was playing a controller, not a keyboard, probably even better on a keyboard. And there's, like I said, just so many different spells you can use. It's not too complicated, which I really enjoy. Another thing that came back to me whilst I was doing this was just how many different weird little mechanics this game has. Take these demon doors, for example. Scattered throughout Albion, you have these things called demon doors, which are basically a door with a face on it, which will give you a certain task to complete, and then it will let you through that door. Some are more simple than others. One might just be, give me all your keys like I did later on in the game, or some might just want you to be like evil or good. Heck, there was one I even came across which said you're not fat enough to actually come through this door. Yes, you can put on weight in this game as well. Like GTA San Andreas back in the day where you could put weight onto CJ. This has this as well. I didn't even realize this until I walked up to this door. Bear in mind, I'm 80% through this game at the time. I go up to this random door and he says, you're not fat enough to come in. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, you can put weight on in this game as well. The more food you eat, if you're just going to sit there eating food countlessly, then you'll just end up looking something like this, apparently. And then eventually, if you do get to go inside these doors, there's a bit of loot waiting for you inside as well. The easiest one I probably had was, give me all your silver keys. Yes, that sounds difficult because you can collect a lot of silver keys on this. Bear in mind, I never collected a lot of keys on this, so joke's on this guy. I got through this door with about 8 silver keys and then got one of the best weapons in the game, I think. Who's laughing now? Of course, speaking of food as well, you can obviously get your potions and mana potions and different other potions as well. Not just food, and obviously, if you want to heal as well, there is healing spells there as well if you want to do that. So there's a variety of different ways where you can heal your character. But what I really love about Fable is becoming a hero doesn't automatically make you a good person. I'm still getting called a hero on this, even though I'm doing villainous acts. Most games would have you saving the world and being the chosen one no matter what. Bear in mind, you kind of still are. But Fable basically turns around and says, sure, you can do that, or just be a complete psychopath if you want. And almost immediately, the game starts testing you. Do you help people, or do you take the other route that you can take and go against them? Do you act like a noble hero going around killing everything that everyone wants you to kill, or do you go around helping the likes of the bandits going around killing civilians and, hunting them down? Basically, do you protect Albion, or do you go around being the reason why Albion needs protecting? I'm going to be honest, at first I told myself on this, okay, I'll choose the odd dialogue here and there to be evil to see how it plays out. That lasted about 5 minutes. Going around villages, smacking up guards again, like I did back in my childhood, picking fights with random villagers, smashing up anything I could, just to rack up a bounty on my head. And obviously, like with games, you can either pay the bounty or you can go against it and just keep on fighting them. I didn't pay any bounties unless I actually got caught, which I thought was like one time. One of the best things about this game is how the game reacts to your choices. As your alignment shifts, for example, if you have good alignment, you'll be in the positive bar of the alignment. And, people will praise you and cheer you as you go around the cities. Whereas if you're in the negative alignment, you get booed and everyone runs away from you scared. Like, you're trying to get your hair cut on this game, and the woman's just trying to run away from you because she doesn't want to cut your hair. Like, everyone becomes terrified of you. And honestly, seeing my character transform from a hobbit-looking child into Albion's public enemy #1 was half the fun of this playthrough. Another thing I completely forgot about whilst I was playing this game is you can do quests in a different way as well. Whereas, yes, you can do them good and evil routes, you can also do a boast-like system as well, which essentially like challenges for the actual quest. You want to do a quest a bit harder way, you can do it the boasting way. Now, in theory, these are meant to prove like what an incredible hero you are, but most of the time they're just trying to make your life harder to just give you bragging rights. For example, wannabe to guide all the traders through without any of them dying. Don't do a certain thing in this quest, otherwise you'll get a penalty for it. This, that, and the other. Certain things like that. But there was ones ridiculous, like completing a quest while wearing nothing but your underwear. Yeah, you can have a weapon as well, but, just go around in your British undies, shall I say. Because apparently the guild looked at some crisis we had on our hands and went, you know what? Let's send this guy in his briefs to go and help these instead. Naturally, the extra reward was more than tempting to actually go and give this a go. And I went off and done like a quest like this, like I was just not finished and getting ready in the morning. No, seriously, it's like little elements like that with the Fable games that just gives the Fable games so much personality. They tried to go for this British humor because apparently the creators of these games were British as well. I don't know how much British humor that is, considering I'm British myself. Bear in mind, the days have gone along now where humor's a bit more different than it used to be, but you know, it brought a smile to my face. Little things like this certainly do. Honestly, I don't even know if any other RPGs attempt this sort of humor in their games. Now, there's one thing that always gets my attention in an RPG, always, every single time it has it, is an arena. You know, like when you go back on Oblivion, you go into the arena, other games such as like that. I forgot this had one, but as soon as a game gives me a chance to enter an arena, I'm just like, yes, let's get into this. So naturally, when you get to the main quest where you need to go into the arena, I was all in and ready. And honestly, this section holds up pretty well. There is a little bit here and there where I was just like, ow, this is a bit annoying. But you know, quite enjoyable. Fighting through waves and waves of different type of enemies, the crowd cheering you on, makes you feel like you're one of Albion's like most famous heroes. Well, not famous probably in my case, but you know, infamous is probably more accurate for my character. And at the end of the arena, more spoilers for the story, this leads into probably the biggest choice I've had to make in like an evil playthrough in this game, and that is to either let your fellow guild member that you've been brought up throughout the guild, you have the choice to either let them live or kill them. Throughout this game, you've been competing with each other. She's been basically your rival. And last time I played this game, obviously it wasn't even a choice. I would have just gone, yep, you're living, let's go to see another day. But like I said, this wasn't my normal type of playthrough for these games. After spending hours and hours of making every bad choice I could, I suddenly wasn't just gonna go, you know what, now I've got a conscience. So when the game asked me if she should live or die, well, let's just say she wasn't making it out the arena. And honestly, that's probably when my character crossed the point of no return for me. I don't think there was any, like, going back. Bear in mind, yes, you can get some more morality and, you know, become better in yourself and, you know, maybe become a hero still? I didn't want to do that, clearly, because things do start to get worse from there as well. But we'll come back to that in a moment. Because another thing in these Fable games, and like most RPGs, is with an RPG, when you get bored of the story or, you know, you just simply want to sidetrack, there's always someone else to do. And especially in Fable's case as well. Because with Fable, if you want to go and do sidetracking, you can just basically go and live your own life. And I say live your own life because you can build like a life for yourself. Want to go and buy a house? Go for it. Want to go and rent a property out to someone and then get their money? Go for it. Want to settle down and start a family? Go for it. Well, apparently you can't have a child on this one. I forgot you couldn't have a child on this game. Fable 2, you can have a child in Fable 2. I know you can in that. But you can get married. And because obviously this is my evil playthrough, I naturally ended up pursuing Lady Grey. Because if you're going to go for an evil playthrough, why not marry Lady Grey, you know, one of the most questionable people in the game? She was probably the perfect fit for my character. I just love on this game how there's so many different ways you can actually role play in this type of game. This game came out in 2004, and there's still so many things in this game where some RPGs don't bring it out. Like, some RPGs you can't get married in and you can't have houses. Most of them you can these days, but for back in the day in 2004, this is like a what the heck sort of thing. Another feature in this game I like as well is the emote system. Now, this might not sound like a big deal these days, but like I said, this game came out in 2004. You can go up to near enough any NPC you want to and use a different emotes on them. You want to give them a gift, you can give them a gift. You want to fart in their face, you can fart in their face. You want to burp in their face, you can burp in their face. You want to have a dance with them, you can have a dance with them. There's so many different emotes you unlock throughout this game. The more you go through this game, the more emotes you unlock. If you want to have evil emotes, you have to do more evil things to get more evil emotes. There's so many ones out there which I don't even know about. And like I said before, you start being horrible to people, then they react horribly to you and they just don't want to know you anymore. It's a small feature, but you know, it adds more personality to the world. You feel like the NPCs are more alive. Combining houses, getting married, choosing whether you're a hero or a complete psychopath. It makes Albion feel less like a game world and more like a world where your actions actually matter. Especially for a game that came out so early. So one thing I've been waiting throughout this whole playthrough is when my character starts to look proper evil. If you don't know in Fable games, you have a certain way what your character can look. You go evil and you grow horns. You go good, and then you basically have like tattoos on your face, and you just look like this. But being like 80% through this playthrough now, I was thinking to myself, why in the hell am I just looking like some Temu version of Edward Scissorhands? I even have the scars on my face. Despite all the questionable decisions and everything I've made, I've still not even got a poke of a horn through my head. That had to change. I think at this point I just realized there's just only one solution that I can do to maybe get that little tip of a horn out my head. Because clearly I wasn't committed hard enough for being this evil playthrough. So I decided to return to Oakvale, you know, the place that got slaughtered by the bandits, and finish the job off. And by finish, I mean I killed every resident on this. Apart from maybe like one person, because it didn't let me kill him, but you know, in this game, you can kill like near enough 80% of people, I believe. And when you kill these people as well, which is weird, their house becomes available to you. So if I wanted to, I can just buy every house in Oakvale now. I'm not gonna because there's no point, but I can. Yeah, when you kill people, apparently their residence becomes like available. Kind of reminds me if you've ever played The Sims back in the day, where I think if you actually had the family killed in a certain place, you can go and buy their house. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. I love this though, because in most RPGs, a lot of NPCs are just untouchable. No, not in this one. But yes, after all of this slaughter and becoming, you know, like Anakin Skywalker, just slaughtering all the sand people, I got my horns. But finally, at least my transformation from Edward Scissorhands has now turned into Albion's greatest looking villain. You know, we went from a hobbit to Edward Scissorhands to this thing. I don't know what's better, to be honest, because now I've got flies going around my head and I feel very questionable looking like this, considering I'm half bald now as well. Now, with all side content out of the way, it's time to get back to the main story, because eventually I finally come face to face with the antagonist of this game, that being Jack of Blades. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons I went back to this game, from seeing the trailer not too long ago, and a certain someone appears at the end. I honestly said to myself, oh Christ, I can't remember anything about this guy. I'm not a die-hard Fable fan. Like I said, I've completed the games, but I haven't done it multiple times. I've done 3 multiple times. Out of all the Fables, weirdly enough, I've completed Fable 3 multiple times for some reason. Now, I remember the look of Jack of Blades, and I remember his name, but that's about it. I can't remember anything else about him. Was he important? What was his plan at the time? Why was this guy so relevant? Why was he so evil? I generally just couldn't remember. And safely, obviously, after playing this game, I can say that's no longer a problem. Now, without spoiling everything in this story, let's just say he's bad news. Let's just say by the time Jack of Blades enters the picture in this game, everything starts to escalate more quickly in this story. And suddenly the quest to become Albion's most feared person has been overtaken by this guy. So I'm gonna have to go and sort this guy out first. But as your story progresses, you start learning more about your character and why your character was so important to begin with. It turns out like there's some actual heritage there, and your mother was also once a hero, so it's kind of in your blood. Your sister and you have inherited this. And that's why Jack of Blades is kind of like the antagonist, because he's after your family for a certain reason. And again, most of the things I forgot about in this game were a lot of the lore of this game as well. I couldn't remember any of this. And of course, Jack of Blades being the main villain, obviously with any main villain of any game, you end up fighting them at the end. And when I originally played Fable, that's where my journey ended all those years ago. Obviously, I went like down a different route this time, without spoiling the actual ending of the actual proper game before what we get into in a minute. I went down the evil path. I'm not going to say what the evil path was, but you know, did the evil deed and gained a nice weapon. But yeah, when I originally done Fable, that's where my journey ended. I did have the Anniversary Edition, which I believe included the DLC, which is an expansion, basically, because we didn't really have downloadable content when it was like 2004, wherever it came out. But I remember just doing this and just going like, okay, I'm done with the story, even though it kind of continues on its own anyway. Because now I had to go through the Lost Chapters, which is a totally new experience for me. After finishing this game, I thought, okay, it might be like a mission here or two. No, it's it's a decent amount of story left. For those who don't know, the Lost Chapters is essentially a expansion for the original Fable game. Rather than having the final ending where I ended it last time with Jack of Blades being the final antagonist, the story continues with new quests, new areas, new enemies, and new weapons, and another chapter to the story. And it turns out this was even more up my street because this Lost Chapters makes me explore my inner villain even more. By this point in the game, I thought I'd go through every single bad experience I could until I went into the Lost Chapters and it just went, you know what? Here's some more. Let's see how evil you actually are. Because one thing I discovered on this, that literally no one is safe. You can kill near enough any NPC, and I'm talking main ones as well. So obviously when the game presented me with these choices, slight spoiler, yeah, no one was safe. I was picking the evil option every single time. And obviously with this as well, spoiler again, Jack of Blades is back, but this time in a different form. You have to go and defeat him again. And then the story does end then. To be honest, this wasn't that long of an expansion for me because I feel like if I did this in the good morality sort of way, this would have been longer. I definitely went down the quicker approach of like, just slaying everyone instead of actually going down different routes and doing it a different way. But again, this is why this game is so good, because you could just literally go and play this a different way now. If I want to go and start this game whole again, let's just go and be a hero instead. Obviously, there's still a lot of side content for me to do if I wanted to do that as well. There's so many different side quests you can do on this as well. But you can just go around this game different ways. And this is what made Fable special at the time. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the Fable remake, considering it's a different creator. From what I've seen, I like the look of. There's little bits here and there which I'm a bit questioning about, but you know, for the most part, I am very much looking forward to the new Fable game, because apparently it's just a whole reboot. So, you know, it's not going to be in the same universe, but it's going to be in the same sort of place, being Albion. But, you know, I'm really looking forward to that, and I just wanted to get that Fable into me because we've been waiting long enough. It's been delayed like 2 or 3 times now, this game. But if you haven't played the original Fable series, I would say go and start with Fable Anniversary. Fable 2 is an absolute great game. I can remember most of that. And then Fable 3 isn't as good as the other 2 Fables, but you know, it's very much an enjoyable game for what it is. And if you want to see me do a video on Fable 2 or 3, then let me know. I'll go back and play them as well. Why not? Let's get it all into my head before the new Fable game comes out next year. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like. It means a lot. And if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, because I bring out videos kind of like this every week when I can. But yeah, very much enjoyed going through Fable again, and I'm glad I did. Like I said, you could probably pick this up for cheap these days anyway. I'd definitely say it's worth it. It's an enjoyable ride.